it keeps getting worse. Okay. I had a lot of hope for this one. That's disappointing. Sorry about that. I didn't see you there. Okay. Look, you caught me reading some bad literature, okay? It's a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine, so, let's just get this out of the way. Anyway, now that you know my most embarrassing secret, let's just, cat's out of the bag. Let's see what else we got, shall we? Ah! Okay. No career mode. Now, I know. I'm not who you expected to see today. I understand that your disappointment is immeasurable. I get it. And I'm sorry, I understand. But I promise there's a good reason that I'm here today, and it's because Zach is actually out nursing an injury right now. Believe it or not, he's still suffering from that beating that half of you gave him for that Alex Albon video. So, I'm here instead. With that said, my name's Thomas. It's great to meet you all, and I'm sure that my video about an underappreciated driver will go so well after the response to that last one. What am I doing? So, now that we've sorted out who I am, let's figure out why I'm here. And to answer that, I'll be talking about Antonio Giovinazzi. In other words, the one driver on the grid that nobody ever seems to talk about. As for what I hope to do though, I'm trying to give Gio some shine, because frankly, I feel as though his performances thus far don't get the attention that they deserve. I think he's a better driver than most would give him credit for, because when most people talk about him, it's either with a little bit of negativity or complete indifference. So then, now we arrive at a bit of an issue. Where do you start talking about the guy that nobody ever seems to talk about? And for me, I've elected to start with the Formula 3 European Series back in 2014 for Gio's sophomore year. His rookie season, we can kind of ignore it, it was nothing special. But once he got his feet wet, started to feel the machinery underneath him a little bit better, he finished 6th. That's a pretty solid result for a second-year driver, and he followed that up with 2nd the year after that. Now, granted, by your 3rd season, if you're going to be a top-tier Formula 1 driver, most would probably expect you to win the championship, and fair enough, but there's a caveat here. The only driver he lost to was Felix Rosenqvist, and Rosenqvist was, for a long time, seen as the only driver that had a real chance to make the jump from Formula E to Formula 1. Granted, he went to IndyCar instead, but he became Rookie of the Year over there, and he's doing very well. He's a really good driver. Losing to Rosenqvist? Small beans. Not a problem. Not to mention, some of the drivers that he beat en route to that 2nd place finish back in 2015 are some of the strongest young drivers we've got today. Russell, Leclerc, Albon, Stroll, Callum Ilott, Sergio Sette Camara, and of course, who could forget the stone-cold fox that is Mahavir Raghunathan? So Gio followed up his 2nd place finish in the Formula 3 Euros that year by moving to GP2 for 2016 and doing the same thing. He finished 2nd again, and there are a couple things to note here. On debut, he already beat some lower-end F1 talent like Sergei Sirotkin and Nicholas Latifi, but also some GP2 and Formula 2 veterans like Matsushita, Giotto, and Markelov. And he also beat the kind of journeyman Mitch Evans, who's carved out a nice little career for himself all over the place. But that's not really the big thing about that season and about Gio's performance. The kicker was, Gio finished 2nd, only 8 points behind the champion. The champion was his teammate, and his teammate was Pierre Gasly, who is a genuinely quick, well-worthy Formula 1 driver. Only 8 points separated a rookie Gio from his teammate and the championship. Now, sure, I will happily admit that the 2016 GP2 car was not at all the same beast that the 2020 Alfa Romeo is. I completely get that. But he was still competing with genuine Formula 1 talent and some well-respected drivers down the field, and he got up to championship contending pace in less than a season. He was 8 points away from being a rookie champion in GP2. That takes natural, raw skill. So all of that is to say that Gio's junior career had him very well positioned for an entirely deserved Formula 1 drive. He was a great qualifier, he was capable of learning his machinery quickly, and he could compete with bona fide Formula 1 talent. That's great. Not to mention he had truckloads of experience driving the Formula 1 cars already with Ferrari. It's just that he didn't have much experience racing them, and we will deal with that now. So after his runner-up result in GP2 back in 2016 is where Gio's junior career starts to get a little strange. He became Ferrari's junior/third driver for 2017 and 2018, and that's awesome. You get tons of time testing genuine Formula One machinery in that role, but he drove 3 competitive races in 2 years. He subbed in for the injured Pascal Wehrlein twice in 2017, and he also drove 1 guest appearance at Le Mans in 2018. But 3 competitive races, only 2 of which were in the machinery that you were training to drive professionally, that doesn't really help your racecraft. And as we've seen in his current career, that's what lacks for Gio. Now, I get those 2 races with Sauber weren't really part of his full-time career, so we can ignore those from now on. Let's talk about 2019 itself, because after all, if you're talking about how worthy a Formula One driver is of being in Formula One, you have to look at their performances in Formula One if they're available to you. 2019, Gio started against Kimi, which, by the way, I think is a big reason why he's not talked about very much, because Kimi's awesome. But let's just ignore that too. Anyway, Gio was, well, he was obliterated. Let's not sugarcoat it. He was demolished in 2019, and that's pretty well all that there is to be said about his race performances there. However, his qualifying, though, he actually did pretty well. He out-qualified Kimi 8 times from 20 races, which kind of shows that that raw pace was still there. He hadn't driven competitively for 2 years, mind you. So the fact that his qualifying was still on par with Kimi right away, that tells me something too. So what about 2020? After all, it's the most up-to-date evidence we have of Gio's talent, and to his credit, he's doing really well. He's out-qualifying Kimi 8 times from the 17 races, so Kimi's got his number by 1, but it's a heck of a lot closer than it was last year, and that was already the best part of Gio's ability. On top of that, his race starts have been fantastic. He's, if I'm not mistaken, he's the best at gaining positions on lap 1. And you can't say it's because he's starting last, because 8 times this season there's been at least his teammate behind him, and Kimi's nowhere near him. On top of that, both his race management and his pure race pace have improved as well, by leaps and bounds over where he was in 2019. And all of these things roll together to create a 3-2 lead over his teammate in the points. I am not suggesting that a 3-2 lead over a teammate in his 40s at this late stage in the season is conclusive evidence that Gio is deserving of a seat. I get that that is flimsy ground to be standing on, but I think the point stands here as well. He's clearly improving. He's matching his very experienced world champion teammate who has shown multiple times that he's still got it. So I think Gio deserves a little bit of respect, a little bit of attention for what he's doing. He's not flashy in any way, I get it, but he's doing a really solid job so far, and I gotta give him credit for it. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a little prediction here, and knowing this channel's history with predictions, that's probably a really bad idea, but I don't care, I'm gonna do it anyway. Sebastian Vettel for World Champion 2020. For 2021, Alfa Romeo have confirmed that Gio and Kimi will be coming back. Gio is going to out-qualify Kimi by a lot. He is going to outscore Kimi comfortably, and week in and week out, he is going to be the faster driver. I'm not saying he is going to comprehensively demolish him every single week, of course not, but he is going to be the better driver by season's end, and it's not going to be particularly close. And here's the thing, I say this as somebody who loves Kimi. I know we've been talking about Gio this whole time, but Kimi is my favorite driver of all time, and Zach can verify that for you. But I think he's going to get his ass kicked. I have one final argument to make in Gio's favor. It's not about his performance, it's not about anything we've talked about so far, it's actually about his character. Now, I don't know him personally, I can't speak directly to his character, and fair enough, but the next best thing are the people around him, and he has had 2 teammates that have been with him for over 2 years. I think that qualifies as being around him. You've got Kimi Räikkönen and Sean Galeo. Both of those drivers consider him their friends. Kimi only considers 2 drivers on the current grid his friends, Vettel and Gio. And seeing as Vettel is kind of known as being a pretty easygoing dude, I think that speaks very highly of Gio's character to be put in that company. And Sean Galeo, on Gio's Beyond the Grid podcast, he referred to Galeo as his brother. Forming that close of a relationship with somebody that you are actively trying to beat because you're using the same machinery, that speaks really highly to his character. It would be a failing on the part of any team principal hiring for a Formula One seat to not at least briefly think about that. Yes, performance matters, absolutely. Gio clearly has that. He has pace. Then you start to look at how would they fit in with the team? How would they get along? And Gio, by all accounts, seems to be a very easygoing, likable person. And if you listen to his Beyond the Grid episode, that really comes off. Anyway, all of this is to say that I truly believe Gio has proven himself worthy of not only being talked about, but being worthy of having a seat at the F1 table. If he is brought back for another year after next, I think it should be received with praise and positivity, rather than the traditional silence. So that's about it for me. By all means, Zach and I want to hear what you have to say about the man we call Italian Jesus, so please throw your thoughts down in the comments and we'll take a look. And with that, I got nothing else for you. Thanks for having me. We'll see you around.